This trip was round 2 of a bet that Trev had lost a while back. I'd gone down to Ballarat to fish his home waters. He had the fly, I had the lures. The loser had to wear the dreaded pink wig, and I think it stung him quite a lot losing that one. So it was always about then heading up to the snowy mountains, fish for some spawn run trout. It was Trev's chance to get his revenge. Mate, we've come to the Snowy Mountains, flowing river environment. You and I not long ago had a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, but come on, mate.
An urban impoundment.
I'm doing the groundwork. You're just doing the fishing.
We did fly versus spin on some of your local lake trout with the traditional loser wears the loser's wig
not
home.
again.
You wanted round 2, so here we go. We've travelled this time. We've come on a great little road trip, and we're going to do fly versus lure again. You haven't had a cast yet, so I feel like I'm cheating you a bit, but you know, you're a fly fisherman and you know your stuff, so you'll deal with it. There you go, Trev. Straight into that. Thanks for coming.
Beautiful brown Nige. Look at that. Well done, mate.
Awesome. Magnificent fish. We'll get him out of here, mate. We got up bright and early.
We did.
Very early in Melbourne, and we've made a trip north to the Snowy Mountains. A few weeks before closed trout season, it's the start of the spawn run.
Yep.
We've got fish queuing up here.
Had a bit of rain, bit of fresh down the river.
And the practice involves drifting artificials. Now, that looks like a fly, but it's not. It's a bit sneaky. I might tell you what it is later on. We're in competition mode now, so I can't give away all the secrets yet, but it is a great, what we call glow bug imitation. It imitates an egg. And drifting through, it's all about the drift, as you know, being a fly fisher. Get the drift right, and these fish are suckers for an easy meal.
Mate, that's a beautiful fish.
He is a great way to start the trip.
Fantastic, buddy, fantastic.
Look at that, mate. Isn't that impressive? That's what we came here for.
Beautiful.
Go and play with that. How you going, mate? Get your bearings. Get your bearings. Wants to hang around. Wants to say good day, and then he wants to say see you later.
Through the legs and off.
There he goes, mate.
Well done, buddy.
All right.
Well done.
Onwards and upwards. Let's go again. I know where to find him, Trev.
Yep. Whoa.
Little
He's
rainbows.
not the size of yours, mate, but he's giving me a run anyway. Oh, he's a nice fish, Nige. Mate, all I've got to say is you're moving a little bit slower than when I did for your fish. What's the reason?
You're a flying guy. I know you're going to take ages to land it. That indicator's, is that where your indicator was the whole time? That far up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
running right up.
Cool.
It depends on the depth of the water.
See, I didn't have to rush at all. You got ages yet.
Go, mate. Go, go, go.
Oh, there we go, Trev. There we go. Neat little fish, mate. He was speedy.
Yeah.
He was on his way down.
Well, they use that current, don't they?
You know, they are quick. And he's scoffed a little glowbug.
Beautiful.
You got some cool fly fisherman's stuff there that I can undo him with.
Yes, mate.
Oh, there's some serious four driving in action in the background.
Fully prepared, mate.
There you go. Well done, Trev.
Well, thanks, mate.
Trev has opened the account.
He's not as big as yours, but I'm working up, mate. I'm working up to it.
You're only a fly fisherman, you don't have superhuman powers or anything. All right, mate, I'm going to get this back in the water and let's go and secure our little patch of turf because it's pretty competitive out here today. See if we can get another one. Off you go, mate. Good work, Trev.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for your help there.
We'd each caught a fish, so we went into the nighttime break, one apiece. Plenty of expectation on the second day, but lessons learnt, there was quite a crowd down the bottom section of the river, so we decided hike a fair way up, get past the anglers, get some fresh water, and then let's settle this once and for all.
Coming up on the AFN Fishing Show, the boys trek through the harsh bushlands and manage to spot a trout or two, but will the journey take its toll on Trevor? Before the break, the boys travelled to Eucumbene for a fly versus lure rematch. It's currently 1 trout apiece, but a new day brings a new set of challenges. Who will end up in the pink wig? Stay tuned to find out.
I've had a good night's sleep. Got out of the cold for a bit, Trev. We've left our afternoon session behind. A couple of fish, mate. Got things a little bit competitive, as they often do in spawn season. And the plan this morning is we're going to hike upstream and try and find a little bit of our own water. Hopefully find some fish that are pushed up overnight. We've same approach in place. Trevor's on the fly. I'm on the spin gear. It's one apiece, mate.
But I'm advantaged today, mate, because the weather's fine up. The river's dropped a bit and a bit clearer. Flies on today. He's
talked himself up all night, so I'm intrigued to see how this unfolds. Can't wait. Let's go and find a few, mate.
Cheers, mate.
I might even let you have first cast again today. In the pursuit of finding a pool where anglers hadn't been, we hiked a long way, and finally we did come across this pool where we could visibly see fish staging on the other side. Main problem in this particular spot was a steep backdrop. I could make a cast, but Trev was really going to struggle with the fly rod. So we sat down for a while. We made a decision to head back downriver, cross it again, and then try and take on a really thickly vegetated side of the bank where, funny enough, no one was fishing, to try and get onto the other side where in the same pool we could both make a cast. Every decision has consequences, and in this particular case we weren't to know quite how drastic they were going to be. We started taking on this thick bush on one side of the bank. Keep in mind we're wearing 6 layers of clothes for warmth, we've got waders on, we're carrying fly gear and spin rod. It was really hard to fight your way through this bush. We're falling over, we're fighting for every 2 steps forward. You almost have to go backward to try and find a better way through, and it started to take its toll. We had to stop for more frequent rests. I noticed little things like the back of Trev's hand starting to bleed from cuts of fighting through the bush. And by the time we got to the fishing spot, we were in a very different frame of mind. The reason I've come with this spin gear is I think it's one of the most flexible ways to chase spawn run fish. And it's a very simple rig. It's a paternoster setup, and all you need to bring, see our little mustad hooks, go to the craft shop and get these little babies, set a split shot and a hair and copper nymph. And the rig is then simply adapted to suit the conditions that you get wherever you choose to go and chase fish in the river. Crimp on 1, 2, 5 bits of split shot. What you want is that natural drift with the river flow. A bottom dropper, you can either put the hair and copper down low. In this case, I just thread on one of my little balls of happiness, I call them. They look a whole lot like trout eggs. And you've got a dropper above that with my hair and copper nymph. In this case, I've got a bead-headed nymph because I want a little bit of flash to be put out there. Then put it in place, drifted past fish. Watch your line. I've got bright coloured braid. It's my indicator in this case. All I'm going to do is drift past the fish. I'm either going to see the fish eat it, or that line is going to hang up as the fish mouths it, just like your fly indicator. Lift the rod. Hopefully, I'll show you a little fish flapping around soon. It's going to be exciting either way. We've arrived at this pool after an hour and a quarter of bashing away through the bush, and we get there and you can see Trev's not that well. And then he tells me that he does have a health condition, that if he pushes himself too hard, he starts suffering low blood sugar and weak spells. We got some sugar into him pretty quickly. He had a bit of a rest, and then with me keeping a bit of an eye on him, we started fishing. I took the top section of the pool and Trev started waving the fly rod down in the lower sections. Low light conditions like this, when it comes to Polaroiding, you want to really have the best possible asset when it comes to your Polaroid sunnies. And these days with so many different shades of lens available, they all do different things. And in this low light environment, and particularly on trout fishing, you very often get that stormy, overcast, sleety weather. Even days like this, we've got lots of shade here, so it is quite dark in this area. I've got a yellow shade on and it's designed just for this low light Polaroiding, and it is pristine. I can see every fish moving through here. All I've got to do now is put a cast in the right spot. Yes, that's a good fish too, and off he goes. Whew, just had that slight pause of the braid and I thought, is it? I lifted in case, and I thought I had a rock for a second, and then it shook its head.
More fishing action coming up as the AFN Fishing Show continues. But things are about to get a whole lot harder. How will the boys cope as Trevor takes a turn for the worse?
Yes. This is why we get up early in the mountains, freeze our toes and fingers off, come and do this. This is so much fun. He's eaten that one up a little bit higher. And all I saw then was that slight pause in that orange braid. Lifted the rod. Fun and games. He's in there with his mates, sitting in the current waiting for stuff to come past. I've obviously got the drift right because he's thought that little nymph is going to do him for breakfast, dinner or whatever. He's had a little bit of fun. Now I'm putting him back. Let's go away and do his thing. Off you go. Beautifully marked fish. Yep, gotcha. Oh yes, that's a quality fish too. Whew. I think every trip to the mountains, it just takes me a while to start getting my eye in for what a bite is. When you get tuned into what that sudden pause in the braid means, you'll start striking before you know what's going on, but it does take you a little bit of time. So don't get frustrated, get your drift right, just keep fishing through where you know there's fish. Before you know it, you'll be having fun. Oh, look at that. Look at that fish. Oh, a solid buck-jawed fish like that. Scoffed that little, what he thought was an easy feed in the way of a bit of protein and an egg. It's not, it's just something that keeps my kids amused from the craft shop. In amongst all that action, Trev's bravely fishing away. And it wasn't until I saw him release this particular fish that I suddenly had a reality check and thought, wow, he's really starting to struggle now. Fishing's like any sport, and when the action gets thick and fast, you quickly get distracted. Trouble is that with me getting caught up in my fishing, I'm not seeing that only a stone's throw away, Trev's starting to really take a turn for the worse. Keep moving, Trev. Keep moving. Trev's told me to keep fishing. I know what he's like. He's proud, and he didn't want to be the one that got in the way of a good fishing trip. He's told me he's just going to sit there, get his energy back, just to give him the chance of getting back up this hill and getting home. But I'm starting to stress now. I've got no phone reception. We're in a cold, snowy mountain valley. We're a long way from home, a lot of bush between us and the car, and I've got no way of calling for help. I've got a 60-year-old potentially struggling to make it 3 Ks back to a car. Now starting to think things start getting worse from here. What exactly happens? How long does it take us to get help? For me to walk out, get help, get back, you're looking at a good half a day in a pretty tough environment. We've got half a day of daylight left, and I really didn't want to start thinking about what happens. Do we start dealing with this in the dark? The footage you're seeing now is rough and ready, but it's purely by coincidence that you're seeing it, and it's only because by accident, panic button's starting to get hit. Trevor vomits and then tries to communicate to the camera crew and myself, and he's starting to slur his words. Now I know through first aid experience that when you vomit and you start losing communication capacity, it tells you your body's starting to shut down. At this stage, we start rushing. Cameras are thrown in bags, gear is chucked anywhere it'll fit, and then we start getting Trevor moving as fast as we physically can. I'm starting to push him and pull him up hills, just trying to keep him coherent and make him move, and we're just desperately now trying to get him to a stage where we're closer to home and we've got some form of communication.
Coming up, Nige tries to keep Trevor moving as they make their way back to the car. Can they make it back safely, or will the boys get stuck in the bush?
This condition, when it gets really bad, which was this in this case, quite often means that I vomit. And I vomited quite a few times. Got to the stage where I was slurring my speech, at which time Nigel started to get seriously worried about my condition. But we were worried about being able to get back up the hill and get back to the car, which was a number of kilometres away. It got to the point where it was a matter of really, we just had to make a push and try and get out because my condition wasn't getting better. I was starting to personally get worried because normally when these sort of things happen, it's in good conditions when if I'm out hiking and I can rest it, sleep it off and still get back to my car. This time, with the scrub we had to go through, we decided to really pack up and just try and make a beeline and get out, but it wasn't so easy.
Fortunately for us, now Trevor's moving, he starts to warm up. What we found is the more Trevor started to move, the more he warmed up and the better he got. He's still unwell, but he's now getting to the stage where he's communicating better with us, he's starting to be able to look after himself, and he's even starting to manage the odd joke about wasn't that a bad way to end a fishing trip.
The condition now, even though it hasn't really been diagnosed, is to keep up my fluids, make sure I rest, don't try not to push myself to the point where I go too far. I take tablets. So these days I'm just more aware of the fact. When I was younger, it didn't faze me so much. Now I'm getting older, it really does worry me then out in the bush by myself. So I make sure that I take plenty of glucose tablets, Lucozade type drinks to get electrolytes back into my system, plenty of water, and probably the main thing is to be aware that it's not worth pushing myself too hard. I'm better off to say, well, fish can wait, I need to rest.
He's not well, but 2 hours later, we're back at the car after a few rests, a very decent and stressful walk through the bush, but we've made it home. We've broken into that last clearing out of the bush and start seeing cars and people and get phone reception, and it just gets rammed home to you that there's so many more important things than catching a fish. And thankfully this time, this trip now just gets relegated to a great fishing yarn, but it's very much back to the thinking tank for Trevor and I, just about how quickly a trip can go bad. And you associate sports like rock fishing as one of our more dangerous aspects of fishing. You don't expect a day trout fishing in the Snowy Mountains bush to nearly end in, I don't even want to think about where it could have ended, but it wasn't going well at one stage. So you think back to the decisions you make, and you can't underestimate the Aussie bush. We've got extreme environments, climates, terrain, and you need to factor in your capabilities. You need to have, At the end of the day, we're still able to have a little bit of a chuckle on what could have been a much worse day. And to his credit, Trev has gone, you know what, a bet's a bet. I've copped some severe hardship through what you've taken me through, but I'll play this game, I'll take the loss, I'll put this ugly pink thing on my head and patrol the banks of the Eucumbene River, but look out for next time, and I've no doubt we spent a couple of days, Trev in the snowies, got the fly out, got the spin gear out.
Yes, mate.
I have to say, you probably haven't had one of your finer weekends there. Trev was actually a bit crook behind scenes, so I can't be too hard on him. I made him go through some pretty ordinary conditions.
Mind you, you've told me to toughen up about 500 times through the day, mate.
I'm trying to look like a good bloke here, right? So don't ruin my story. Trev has been a bit crook, but he certainly got out there and had a cast. We caught a couple of fish, but you do know how this fits. I've seen you wear it before.
Once before, mate. Once.
I'll help you out.
All right, mate. Here we go.
And we can walk back through the crowd, and you can
bung it on, mate.
You can mention that if some more hooks stuck, it'd be Nige wearing it. And
thanks for a fun weekend, mate.
And that's called fishing. On that note, mate, we've got a bit of a drive ahead.
Okay.
Let's say goodbye to the crew as we go. See ya. Off we go. It's like cousin here.